All right, so we're diving deep today, getting into some really interesting sources you guys sent over about this protest in Mumbai that seems to be catching a lot of attention, and we're going to try to break down exactly why why this local thing has become such a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, right? This is kind of a perfect example of how something that seems very localized can really quickly tap into some much bigger issues. So yeah, we want to make sure you have all the key insights on this.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. From what I'm seeing in some of these reports, especially from outlets like Reuters, this whole thing started at what was supposed to be a pretty standard city council planning meeting in Mumbai. But things took a pretty dramatic turn. During the public comment section, someone actually chained themselves to the podium. Can you believe that?
It's definitely a bold move. And it got people's attention, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So just to lay out the facts, this person was protesting a proposed high-rise development, and it sounds like it was going to be in a neighborhood that's, been around for a long time and is mostly lower income. And they actually stayed chained to that podium for over 6 hours. I mean, that's pretty incredible. They basically shut down the entire meeting. And one of the articles actually quoted someone who was there who said the tension in the room was so thick you could hear a pin drop right before the shadows started.
Oh, I bet. So, what's so interesting to me here is how this one very specific action, even though it happened in a local setting, immediately started raising all these bigger questions. Mm-hmm. And the main one, the one that everyone seems to be debating, is what was the real motivation behind this protest? Was this just a spontaneous thing from a concerned resident, or was this part of a bigger, more organized effort? And when you look online, you see really strong opinions on both sides.
And to understand why this whole thing has resonated with so many people, I think you have to look at the bigger picture here. This isn't the first time that there's been pushback against development projects in Mumbai, especially when it comes to affordable housing and the environmental impact. I mean, this city has a history of this kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. And this protest just brings that ongoing tension to the surface in a really, really visible way.
Right. So even reading through the comments, you see that critics of the protest, they're saying that this was disruptive, they say it was illegal, and that it's going to slow down important urban planning. But then on the other hand, you have supporters who are saying this was totally necessary. They see it as this powerful statement from a community that feels like it's not being listened to.
And that's the real crux of it, isn't it? For your listeners out there who maybe aren't super familiar with Mumbai, this city is constantly changing. It's growing so fast. And with that comes this constant struggle to find a balance between economic development and the rights and the well-being of everyone who lives there. And this protest, it brings that tension into really sharp focus, especially in the context of Mumbai.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of that tension is about social equity, right? It's about making sure that everyone, regardless of their income or their background, benefits from the city's growth. And right now, I mean, it seems like a lot of people are feeling like that's just not happening.
Right, exactly. It's like this question of, are the benefits and the drawbacks of all this development being shared fairly among all the different groups in Mumbai? And what this protest is saying is, based on this action, it seems like the answer for a lot of people is no.
So where do we go from here? What happens next? I think the big question is whether this protest, as public as it was, will actually lead to any real changes in how the city approaches development. I mean, will they take these concerns seriously? Will they change anything about how they approach the specific project or even similar ones in the future? So far, the authorities reacted, in a kind of predictable way. They sent in security, they detained the protester, but we haven't really heard anything from them about the issues that were raised. Will they actually address those? And then you have the public reaction. This thing blew up online. Hashtag Mumbai protest is trending everywhere, right? It's sparking these really intense debates all over social media. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's really important for your listeners to think about the power of, individual actions like this, especially in our world today, where everything is so digital and interconnected. It used to be that a local protest, it would stay local, right? But now, because of social media and the internet, a single person's actions can be amplified incredibly quickly. And that can force these wider conversations and maybe even influence the way people think about things on a much, much larger scale. Yeah. That's something we just didn't see even a few years ago.
Right. So in a way, what started as a protest about a single building in Mumbai has turned into this much bigger conversation about development and about who has a voice in shaping the future of a city. That's pretty powerful, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think our listeners should really sit with that. I mean, think about all the different reactions we've talked about, all the history of development in Mumbai, all the different sides to this. What does this whole event tell us about how fast local issues can become global issues, how connected we all are, and how complex the relationship is between what one person does and how systems actually change in a world like ours? Those are some big questions, but I think they're the right ones to be asking right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think our listeners now have all the key pieces of this story, and hopefully they can use that to kind of make sense of it all as things continue to unfold.
Exactly. It's going to be fascinating to see where this goes from here.